Matt Rhule at Nebraska. Nebraska went 4-8 overall, 3-6 in the Big Ten. What is the level of confidence that Matt Rhule is going to be able to get Nebraska? Bowl team does not feel like a big turnaround. I think that for us to call this a big turnaround, we're talking 8-4, right?
I don't know. I feel like Nebraska fans would feel like a bowl game right now is a big turnaround because it's been a while since they've been to a bowl game. I think that the one thing we know about Nebraska for sure is that it's a coaching upgrade, because the coaching of that team the last few years has been just on game day. You watch it and there's just a whole lot of what were they doing? But the questions are, it's still hard to buy in because of what this program has been in recent years. So it's like you kind of get burned so many times that you take a very cautious approach to what they do. And you look at the schedule, like they start the year with 2 road games against Minnesota and Colorado. Like they could theoretically be 0-2 before they play their first home game against Northern Illinois. They get Michigan from the East. They have a road game against Michigan State. They get Maryland. So the draw isn't terrible, but it could have been better. Inside the division, they're on the road against Illinois. They're on the road against Wisconsin. I mentioned the Minnesota road game. Like, I think this is a team that could get to a bowl game. And if I'm going into 2023 as a Nebraska fan, that is my primary goal. If I'm Matt Rhule, I'm not saying it's my primary goal, but my primary goal is let's get to a bowl game. Let's build some positive momentum. I don't think there's a major turnaround coming in year one.
No Michigan, no Penn State on the schedule.
No, they got Michigan.
Or excuse me, no Ohio State, no Penn State. Apologies. Look, we went through Troy, Washington, a couple others where we said, all right, there was an obvious cultural problem that asking the head coach fixed at these programs. Is it really that unlikely that we could be sitting here in December of 24 saying, yeah, getting Scott Frost out and getting a competent coach in there really solved a lot of this, and that Nebraska improves and gets the right bounces on the way to 9-3? I think it's possible, right? Like that's within my range of possibilities, not likelihoods, but it's possible that could happen.
Well, to connect this to Auburn, where I think that getting Brian Harsin out, and keeping Cadillac and bringing in Hugh Freeze and the work that they've done in the transfer portal, where they've just gone to get, I don't know, like all of the offensive linemen. Like we're just going to come in and have 4 new starters on the offensive line, and we're going to run the dang ball. And you got one of the got a great running back in the portal. Like, is the
maybe a quarterback in the portal in the second window?
Maybe,
possibly. Who wins that Georgia job? You think all those kids are going to stick around, even the losers?
I don't know. So my question was, before we jump into Auburn, for Nebraska, what's the personnel? Like, what is it? Because last year of Scott Frost, he went heavy portal. He had like 20. I think it was, if you include the freshman class, like he was up there with an Ole Miss where you were dealing with like more than 30 players who were just brand new to the program between freshmen and transfers. And that he had, in terms of first year contributors who were new to the program, they were all over the 2 deep. It seemed very much to me from a roster building perspective, like Scott Frost knew he was on the hot seat. He was just going to do anything he could to try to plug and play, figure it all out. Very much a mishmash of players on the depth chart. So when you've got that, it doesn't seem like we've got a lot of personnel continuity. What is Matt Rhule working with? Because I agree, there's undoubtedly a coaching upgrade, but what about the level of roster talent?
So they got Jeff Sims to come out of the portal from Georgia Tech. They took a swing on Eric Gilbert. Now, look, I don't know how we say this. There's not a higher floor, lower ceiling player in the country. Eric Gilbert is probably the best tight end recruit any of us have ever seen. If he gets right off the field, on the field, and Nebraska can get a productive year out of him, he's going to tear people up. Like that dude is not normal. I mean, like he very much, there are occasionally some guys that don't do a damn thing in college for various reasons and then all of a sudden become good NFL players. Like that's a guy, if I'm an NFL team, I'm still trying to sign as soon as he's eligible, just because the body type and the athleticism is just that far above and beyond what everybody else on the planet Earth has. So I don't know, like maybe Eric Gilbert hitting helps them out. I am down on Nebraska's defensive transfer class. relative to what some of the ratings have out there, including where I work, just personal opinion. I mean, it's obviously, we all have different opinions on these stuff, but I do like what they've done on offense. I think they'll be able to score some points.
Yeah. I mean, and too, like the Big Ten West is not going to be that much different than it was last year. Whereas when you look at the division, like I know I mentioned Northwestern earlier in the show, I still think it's pretty solid that they'll probably be the last place team in the division. Purdue could have a rough transition with a new first-year coach after winning the division last year, but they could also still be a very good team. So it's like the other 6 teams in that division, I don't know that anyone there is that much better than the rest of the division where you can say, oh, they're going to pull away. So if Nebraska gets better coaching, and like this is a team like a couple years ago was in a lot of close games and blew them and did stupid things. If they're still able to stay in close games and have better game day coaching and better leadership, it's not out of line to think that they will win more games. It's just, if I'm a Nebraska fan, like I said earlier, tempering expectations just so I don't set myself up too high.
All right. So what about those? And by the way, the great call on another 1-score game. Like Nebraska, even with horrendous coaching and everything else going on around the program,
that program beat itself so many times the last few years. Just no other way to put it.